Hello all, welcome to the tutorial. Today we are going to learn about the array methods. Rather we are going to implement them. We might have used array method in our projects day in day out. But how we are going to implement? Suppose JavaScript doesn't have those methods, or we have to write the polyfills. That's what we call it. If suppose in some browsers some function is not available in old days and old days, what you used to do like 4 5 years back. Suppose Internet Explorer doesn't have find, then we had to write some polyfills. We had to implement them. So that's what we are going to do today. We know that array have some methods, and have you ever wondered like how those methods get available in the array instance? So what happens is like array instance get created with the array constructor. An array constructor have all these methods available, all these methods added as a in the prototype property. So that's how it's inherit from the array class. So or whatever array we create, that is basically a class instance of the array, and that's how we get all those methods available. So now suppose we are going to add such method, we are going to implement our array methods, so we have to do similarly like those gets available in the array instance. So all those methods we have to add them in the prototype property of the array class. So let's dive into the code and we'll see how we can implement them one by one. If I have to use the for each, what I'll do, array dot for each, and for each, and you have to give a callback to it. And yeah, so you have to basically give a callback, and callback will have three things: current value of your loop, index, and the array itself. These three things will be there in the callback. So you basically have to provide this callback. So basically all those method like map, filter, find, reduce, we'll see later on that all those method uses this callback, and that's how it gets created. Now we'll see for each. So suppose this array, now we have already written a callback here, so now we have to provide these variables. So we'll like the current value, index, and array. I'll tell you that this writing this array is not like this is optional thing. You can write it. It depends upon whether you want it or not. It is basically it passes the whole array. So in most of the cases you will not need it. This is index, which will tell you which index it is, like iterator value. This also you may not need in every case, and this is the current value. This is mandatory field. So this index and array, these are optional, so you can omit them as well. It depends upon use. Just for explaining, I am writing all those. Suppose what we'll do, we'll console current value, index, and array itself, and we'll see. So as you can see here, we have value as 1, index, the second value is index, that is 0, and this third value is whole array itself. So now the value is 2, so second value is 2 and the index is 1. Likewise 4, value is 4, and this is the index 2, index 3, value 8, index 4, value 10, and this is whole array. So that's how to see the we are going to implement the for each. So what we have to do is we have to take the array dot prototype, will give the function name. Suppose we will give my for each is equal to function will have callback, and so now there is a problem here. How we are going to get the array value, right? As we can see here, this was the array instantiated, and array has this property for each, and we are able to access this whole array. So how we are going to get that array here? So in this function, whatever the this will be, this is pointing to that array. Whatever array will be using to use our my for each function. So this will behave as a array. Suppose what I'll do, I'll just do console.log and this, and now what I'll do is I'll write array dot my for each, and we'll give some we are not going to give anything, we'll just give a dummy callback here. And as we can see, just comment this so that you will get to know console is printing what. Refresh this. Yeah, now you can see that it's printing the whole array itself. So basically this is pointing to that array. That is why we got this whole array. So now we are clear that this is basically that array itself, what we are going to use. So now we have that array. So what we'll do, we will be needing a for loop. Will x is equal to, yeah, so this is the loop. Now we have this callback, right? So what does for each do? For each just whatever callback you are going to provide, it's just going to call that callback. So we are going to do the same thing, but what we have seen, whenever we give the callback, it will have the three values. So that's all we have to give in the array, and we are just going to call that callback. That's what for each does. It doesn't do anything special, it just calls the whatever function you are providing, whatever thing you are going to do in the callback. So let's see if our callback is working fine or not. So we are going to provide a callback, and what we are going to do is we are, suppose what we'll do, suppose this is a current value, so we don't need all those things, we'll just use current value, and we'll do console console.log current value plus, suppose I'm going to just increment all those values 100. That's what I want here from the my callback to do. It is throwing some error. Let's see what it is. We have to do is we have to provide the actual value. The actual value will be, this is that array, and the current value will be this dot I and this dot index rather, and here it will be index, and here this will be the array will be the this. So that's, again it's saying we had made some mistake. Oh bad, I have written. So yeah, so this is the result. Look, so our array values were 1 2 4 8 10, and what it's printing 100 100 200 400 810. So yeah, that's how. So our for each is my for each is working fine. So we'll just comment this and we'll just comment this out and we'll see the next function what we are going to implement. Just remove this. The next function we are going to implement is map. What does map does? So map will basically do some transformation in our current array and it returns a new array. So for each was just for iterating the array and do whatever you want with those values. But map is like returning a new array with some modification in values or whatever we want to do. So we'll see that now. So the construct for map would be same, array dot map, and we'll have a callback like this. Yeah, so that's, and callback will have three values. Callback will have three values: current value, index, and the array itself. So now we are going to implement the same thing for the map. Rather, we can have the same thing here for map, and we'll just change the name. My for each will become the my map, and yeah. So but here we have to do the slight modification. We want the result array, a array, let it initialize with the value empty array. Why I'm taking this? As I told before that map function returns a new array, so that is why I've created this array to get all those values which will get processed in each of the iteration, and we'll keep it in this array, and at the end we are going to return that new array. So this result array will act as that array. So now we have that result array where we are going to put every values. Now we have to run that callback every time in each iteration, and we have to take the value out of it, because whenever we do map, how we use the map, we provide some callback function where we return something. We give some computation. Suppose we are adding 1 to each of the value in the array, so that's what we had to write a return statement. So we are sure that the callback of map function will have a return. So whenever we are going to implement this callback, it will be returning a new value, though that value we are going to put inside our new array, and at the end we are going to return that result array. If you're not understanding what I am saying, let's just see how we use map so you'll understand it. We already have a map array. We already have that array initialized there. Suppose this is the current item, and as I told, we need a return statement. What we are going to do with item will become item plus suppose I'm going to add 1,000 to each of them, and yes, and then and let take the result here, console this. As I told, map returns a new array. We are going to console that. As you can see, it's returning a new array, and as we are adding 1000 to each of the item, the values are 1000, 1002 for likewise. So this is what map is. Same thing we have implemented. So we know that each callback, as we can see from here, this callback has one return statement which is doing some computation and it's returning value. We know that this callback is going to return a value. That value we are going to push it in one array, and at last we are just going to return that array. So that map was so easy to implement. Actually, all those functions are so easy to implement, just we have to focus on what exactly that method is doing. Like filter will have some condition. We'll going to see the filter next. Filter will have some condition and it will filter out the array based on that condition. So it will not have all those elements, only those elements it will have which satisfies that particular condition. And map, as we have already seen, it does some computation in the array values and it returns something. So we have to utilize, we have to understand what exactly it's doing. Likewise, we can implementing is very easy. So now I'll just remove this and we'll comment this out and we'll see the filter function. So I think first we'll just see what filter does, so it will become easy to understand. We'll just have a simple use case of filter here. We are just going to take the mandatory element, that's the current value, and filter, as I told, you have to provide a condition here. So what I'll do is return me element which are greater than let's see what array we actually have. We have something called, okay, so we'll write return me item which are greater than 8, and it again with it will again give us a new array as a result, which is a subset of the main array because it has filtered out some of the result. Now we are going to see what exactly is in the new array. As you can see, only 10 is there because what is our array? Array is this. Which value is greater than 8? We have only one value. So that's what filter does. It filter out values based on some condition. That's what we have to implement now. Let's just quickly implement this. We can again utilize the same construct. Little bit modification we have to do. My map will become my filter. It again needs, it returns a new array, so we want a result array. This all things are, the for loop will be the same because we have to iterate here as well. But thing is, we don't push everything to a result array. Here we have to see the condition whichever value is satisfying that condition, that's we have to put it in our array. So this callback we are going to implement and it's going to return a new value if that satisfies our if condition. Then we are going to, this is not needed, result array will have only those values. So result dot push will have that value. So our callback we have provided the current value, index, array, and there it has returned me that statement. It got checked. Okay, suppose this value is greater than 8 or not. It is not. Then it will skip this if loop. But if it is greater than 8, then this will become true. And then that particular value we are going to push it in our result array. And at last we are going to return that array. In our case, it is result here. So that's how we have to implement filter. It's so easy. It's just like here we have to do that conditional check whatever we will have in the callback. So it was simple, right guys? Let's see if it is working fine or not. So now what we'll do is array dot my filter. So array dot my filter, it will have one value here in one callback. Item will give the same condition whatever we have given earlier in actual filter function, and the value what we are going to give is item should be greater than 8. So this basically returns a boolean value, as we can see. So whenever we are going to implement this callback, as we can see here, this will add as the result of it will be a boolean. So first we might have passed this dot index. What is that? 1 came here. 1 is less than 8, that is wrong. 1 is not greater than 8, that is false value. So this became false, and as a result we are not pushing that to result. But when we'll reach 10, 10 is basically greater than 8, so this will become true, and then we'll push that to the result array. We'll see. We had made some mistake, I suppose. Okay, this should be index. Bad. Okay, it again returns the value, so we have to take that in result. We will just going to console that. Look, so it is working as expected. Now we are going to see the find function. What does find do? So find basically iterate in the array and look for the element you are searching. You will give some condition, as we have given that I want something where item is greater than 8. So find just return the first value. It's not going to return you an array. It's just going to return the first value which satisfied your condition. So that's the difference. Filter basically returns a new array, but find function is just going to return a new value, and that will be the first value in the array in that order which satisfies your condition. So we can just quickly see. I'll just comment out all of these, and I'll just do array dot find. It will again take a callback. It has almost same construct. Here also we have to give the condition. Suppose we give item is greater than 8, same thing we are giving. I'm just going to console the whole of it so that we can see this result quickly. Find item where item is greater than 8. Look, it has written the value 10. But suppose my array has 12 as well, that also satisfies my condition. but it's not going to return the 12. It's just going to return the first value which satisfies our condition. But if same thing we do and check in filter, it returns a whole array. That's the difference, because I have commented out this. Look, filter is returning two values, 10 or 12, because this condition is true for two values, 10 and 12, and that is why that is returning that is returning a new array which have all those values which is satisfying this condition. But find is a different thing. Find just return a single value which satisfies your condition, and that's the first one in that order. Maybe many of the element will be satisfying that condition, but it won't return it. So we'll just quickly implement the find. We'll just copy this, we'll just comment it out, we'll do my find. As we know, here we are just going to return the first occurrence of the element which satisfies our condition. Again, here we have to check the condition. So we have already, same thing, we have to do little bit modification here. We are checking the condition here. So as soon as we get the value true, we have to break this loop. So basically we have to return from it. So we'll return not the result, we'll return that particular value which is satisfying that particular condition. So in our case, if this is getting true for this value, so that value we want, we'll just return it and break this loop. We don't want this is also not required. Now we'll do console.log my array dot my find, and we are going to provide a callback which will have a simple condition of item is greater than 8. Let's see what it's printing, if it is working as expected or not. Look, it's printing 10. So after 8 we have that value 10. It's working similarly as what the find does. So this is also working fine. So guys, you can see that these are very simple functions which we have to implement. If you know one, you can implement all of those. The last one is reduce. Many people find it difficult to implement this, but we are going to see if it is really difficult. We should not be scared of reduce, because we don't use reduce that much, so we are little scared of. I've seen people little scared of reduce, but it's not like that. It also, we just have to understand what exactly it's doing. It's not difficult. So array dot reduce, we have to understand what all things it takes. It takes one callback. I'll write rather this way. It takes one callback. Callback will have 4 things. Here that's a little difference. All of those functions used to have 3 things: current value, index, and the array as a argument of the callback. But here little different, the things are little different. So one value, the first value will be the accumulator. Now we're just understanding what exactly reduce is doing. Don't worry about it, we are going to understand it well, how exactly it's working. We'll see the example, then we are going to implement this. So accumulator, the second value will be the current value, third will be the index, and likewise array. And apart from that, there is, we haven't seen that in other of the functions, but here we have a different thing here. What is that? That is initial value. That is the initial value. So what reduce does? Reduce basically takes a array, it does something, some modification, and it aggregates all those responses into a one value. It returns a single value. That value can be an array, that can be a string value, that can be a number. So we can use reduce to do the summation of a array. Suppose I have four, as we saw in our example, our array has these many numbers. If we want to sum all of those, then we can use reduce. So reduce basically is used to get a single value. Now we'll understand what these terms are. Accumulator is basically a single value which at the end gonna give you the final result. It is going to keep all those values of each iteration and going to sum it, subtract whatever thing we are going to do. It can be a multiplication, it can be a subtraction, as I have given you the example. If we are adding it up, so all the result will get, final result will get added in the accumulator. Accumulator holds the final value, and each step it will keep the previous value and the current value as well. So that's the only difference between other function and this function. And now we'll see what this initial value is suggesting. Initial value is the optional parameter. We can give it or we may not give it. It basically tells what if we want to give some initial value to the accumulator. We can give 0 or something likewise, and we can just ignore it. Accumulator will just take the first value of the array as its initial value. So let's see one example of reduce. So it will be a very simple example. This is our accumulator, and what it is doing is just look, we'll just give all the values. Accumulator, current value, index we can give, actually we don't need those are not mandatory again. And suppose we are giving initial value as 1. Now what we are going to do here is we are going to all those items to the accumulator. Let's see what result it gives. Item is not defined. Oh, so basically in our case the item address is saying undefined. Okay, we have to return it. Yeah, so it's giving the value as 38. So how 38? We can say this is 22, 30, 34, 34, 36, 37, and the initial value we have given 1, so that is why it has become 38. Same thing we are going to implement We'll just copy this out. My reduce, just name it as my reduce. So now the callback, apart from callback, we need an initial value here as well. So we have to be, we should give the initial value, and this whole thing looks good. It will, but here what we want is we want a new variable, because we want a final result. That final result should be in some variable, right? As we know that accumulator, that whatever final result would be there, the first value of it, initial value of it, comes from the initial value what we give. So if it is defined, then okay, just we can just initialize it with that value, and now we don't need all of this. As we know, our accumulator should get each value of the iteration. Accumulator this dot index, this will be the, we have to write exactly similar, in similar fashion, whatever the construct here is. Accumulator, current value, index, and the array. So array here is this callback will be returning the value, and will be just keep updating this accumulator every iteration, and at the last we just need to return this accumulator. Let's go, where is it? Let's do a check quickly. Array dot my reduce, the callback will have accumulator, value, index, array, and what we want here is we want accumulator plus value, accumulator plus value. That's all. This part is completed. Initial value we are going to give 0 here. Let's give the same thing, because whatever we have given that time. Second, the result will be the same. Just do the console dot log of the reduce. Again we have somewhere, my bad, I am having habit of writing I as index variable, my bad. It's printing 38. It's printing 38 two times because one is actual reduce and one is what we have written now. So this reduce can be used for many purposes. We can use it even for flattening our array. We can see that in some of the videos. So that's how reduce works. So guys, we have seen everything: for each, map, filter, find and reduce. You might have observed that for each, map, filter, find have almost same construct. Reduce had little bit of different construct. It has one extra parameter in the callback that is known as accumulator, that is like the final result, which holds the final result of the uh, whatever operation we are going to do. So reduce basically returns a single value. It can be a array and a string and whatever be the case. So that's what reduce is. We'll see. So guys, if you think that you need help in some of the topic, you can suggest me in the comment box. I'm going to make videos on them. So this what I felt is very important, because there's many interviews have these questions, like how you are going to implement the array functions, reduce or and filter, map. So if you know the construct, you can easily make it. You can easily implement it. Similarly the other functions as well. So guys, hopefully you liked the video. Please press like button, do share and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos.